A writer only begins a book and a reader finishes it. And now we have come to the heart of today's celebration, the book introduction and reviews. If Jampalahari says that's the thing about books, they let you travel without moving your feet. They aren't storytellers. They are pilots, right? Fasten your seatbelts. Let's begin our show. Our first reviewer is someone who truly embodies creativity in all its forms. Ms. Karkuzhali, a corporate professional by day, an author, translator, poet and artist by heart. She moves effortlessly between the worlds from boardrooms to books, from languages to lyrics. Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. So on a rainy evening, I'm so happy to see you all here. Many people have traveled from the two ends of the city or even the four corners of the city to assemble here. This is almost like the heart of the city. And you, ma'am, you've traveled all the way from Calcutta to be here with us. Thank you so much about that. So the chief guests of the day, Aparna and Kavitha Muralidharan, Aparna Karthikeyan, Anuradha Das from the Antonym collection, Nivedita Lewis and Validasan from her stories, and audiences, fellow writers, translators and poets. Thank you all for being here. So I thought I was going to go first and I was riding the jittery waves, but then like three prolific writers and speakers have gone before me. So I'm quite impressed by Antonym Collection's work over these years. The documentary was quite revealing about the nature of work that you do, the vast editorial team that you have. I saw a lot of names with editor and associate editor taglines. And then I also understand that you have a large visual design team as well, working on all your publications. So I'm quite impressed. And Her Stories is already doing a pioneering work here. They've just been here for 3-4 years on the scene. But the name that they have created among the community, the literary community, where they bring women to the forefront, publish works that are based on women-centric themes, books by women authors and translators. So it's been quite an impressive, record that they've created for themselves. And by getting along with you, I'm sure they are going to scale newer heights. So thank you so much for being here, ma'am. And Monali, Bala, I think you set the tone for the evening. What an amazing singing, right? Like picking up two of the greatest poets of our times. I'm sure everybody has read Tagore and Bharati, all of us, across India, across the world. So thank you so much for setting the tone with your voice and the music and the poetry that you shared with us. So the book that I'm going to review today is Love, Longing and Little Things by Dr. S Vincent. It's an anthology of Tamil fiction written across a span of 65-70 years, right? Starting with classics by Ku Azhagirisamy, C. N. Annadurai, who was the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, and then Akilan, and then moving on to contemporary writers like Tenmozhi, Bharati Balan, and Violet. So this is a mixed bag, but that doesn't mean to say that it doesn't have a connecting thread, right? Like the translator says, it's a mixed bag. He has picked up stories that he was quite impressed with and gone ahead with the translation. But at the same time, I would also say that's a thread, invisible thread weaving through all of these stories together. So it's just, these stories are all about the underprivileged, the poor, the downtrodden in many different ways. The author has picked up these stories and he has gone ahead and translated with the approval of these respective authors. The first story, Raja Has Come, Raja Vandirikirar, is Ku Azhagirisamy's classic. It's in the textbooks, Tamil textbooks of schools and colleges, I think. I've read it somewhere in one of the textbooks, either from school or college, I'm not able to recollect it. very properly. And then C. N. Annadurai Sevare is another classic that everybody would have read, right? So I would like to talk about translation as such before I go on to talk about the translator's work in this anthology. Many things have already been shared by Anuradha and Kavitha, Muralidharan and Aparna Karthikeyan to do with translation. From my experience, over the past 25 years, I've been a writer and a translator, translating from Tamil to English and English to Tamil, both languages. So a translator has a thankless job, but of course, got to be self-effacing, right? You got to put the author foremost there. And the translator has dual responsibilities. One towards the author, the other towards the reader, right? And sort of a cultural ambassador role, right? I have to stay sincere and true to the thought or the creative output of the author. I cannot deviate. And I also have to catch the tone and the rhythm and the writing style. The socio-political cultural setting in which the story has been written, and then I ensure I make a seamless transition where I take it to the target audience. And it's immense, the responsibility is huge. So when it comes to translating understanding the socio-political cultural setting, I've translated almost like 10 to 12 stories of William Faulkner. So what I found very challenging was that to understand the times in which he wrote those stories, right? So I need to go and do my research, read about, like Kavitha said, I may not put everything into the writing because it's all bounded already in the short story, right? I cannot be deviating from what he has said. But for me to understand the context from which his thought process worked, right? Like, what made him write those things? What happened exactly there? What shaped his thoughts? What was he going through at that point of time? So how does life happen at that point of time? And then I need to kind of like bring it into my Tamil translation, staying true to the tone and rhythm used by him in the original. Same goes with when I translated Maupassant. Or be it Virginia Woolf. I would like to quote an example from Virginia Woolf that I translated. Mrs. Dalloway on Bond Street is a very famous short story. The stream of consciousness at its fullest display in that particular short story. So she starts at the Big Ben and walks towards Bond Street to buy a pair of silk stockings for herself. I'm not sure whether it was silk gloves or silk stockings. So she starts from there and goes. And on the way she looks at a lot of things, right? Like sightings of Empress Victoria's large figure in the marble stone and all of that. But I've never been to London. And I don't know the path that she traced for me to bring it out. She is talking about the thin trees, the slender trees that are lining the pathway that reach up to that monument of Empress Victoria there. So I had to go and look at the map of London for me to understand the route that she had taken. How she might have walked from the Big Ben all the way to Bond Street. And what were the buntings and other things? What were the announcements that were going on, right? Like, that is a refrain that keeps on going within the short story. I did not understand that sentence at all. I had to do a little more digging of that to understand that it was the times of the World War, and they were talking about the soldiers coming back from the World War and Britain coming back on her feet, right? That was the refrain that was going on throughout the story. So for me to understand and translate that one short story, I had to go and look at the map of London, look at of course now you have the luxury of the Google Maps and other things. All you have to do is click on, put in the right keywords and everything comes. But I know there have been translators in the past who never had this access to information at the tap of their fingers, right? And the immense work that they had done, I'm carrying forward that legacy, right? It's one seamless thread thread that we are all like catching on together and moving forward. So I know the kind of effort that goes into every piece of writing or translation. Like she said, translating a poem. My friend is a Tamil, nevertheless she writes only in English, and she is an award-winning poet and a writer. So one day I decided, after translating all these classics and other things, that I would like to translate one of her poems. She is very possessive about her poems. She doesn't even share, only, you can read it only in the publications. She doesn't even share it over email or WhatsApp or whatsoever. She's so possessive and she's worried about someone copying her work. Right? So one day I decided that I'm going to translate her work. A very bosom friend, very close friend. We have been almost like sisters. So I decided I wanted to translate one of her poems. And then I started translating it, and then we both got stuck over a phrase in the poem where I wanted to use one word, she didn't want me to use that word, right? And neither of us would want to compromise. So the challenges of translating an author who is alive is immense. The responsibility that lies with the translator is immense, right? I mean, William Faulkner, I know there are people who are like fans of him, Virginia Woolf and all that, but I don't think Virginia Woolf or like Faulkner are going to come and ask me or question me about the word that I had used in place of one that they had used in my translation. I don't think that's going to happen anytime. But when you're translating authors who are living along with you, with whom you may have to collaborate, the challenge is immense. And you have to satisfy yourself and the author as well. But at the same time, I also have a responsibility towards the author, right? I need to be very sincere and committed towards what I am translating, right? The cultural ambassadors, I said, like you carry on the culture in one language or in one area to another, the target culture. So sometimes you have to stay very true to what you're writing. You know, you put one sandapottu on the faces of children, right? I hope everybody understands Tamil here. So you put that like black mark in children's cheeks or their chin or on their forehead to kind of like ward off the evil eye. So you have to kind of like bring it. That's what I was missing here in Puvaragrisami's story when I was reading it. The mother puts a black dot on the cheek of her daughter, whereas it's translated as a sandalwood tika pottu on the forehead, right? But somewhere I have to stay true to what the author has written, because they both carry two different connotations. Putting a sandana pottu on the forehead is different, and putting sand pottu. He says sand in the original Tamil. So somewhere when I am translating Faulkner or Woolf, I am going to encounter one fan over there who has read the work in English and going to come and question me. You have done it wrong there. So I've got to be true and sincere there, not only to the author but also that one single fan who is going to come and question me one day. So the translator has a very, very heavy job and load to carry. And recently I was reading over the Facebook about one of the other translators talking about like how people are not doing word by word translation, not understanding the idiom. Like you say, hit the gym. I went and hit the gym. It's not like you go and hit the gym, right? It's an idiom. So I need to kind of like say, avan udarpayirchi kodathukku ponan illa avan udarpayirchi seidan. So it cannot be word to word translation. It has to be an idiomatic translation. And this collection has wonderful short stories, and like I said, I enjoyed each one of those about the downtrodden, underprivileged. One story almost brought tears to my eyes. It was The Hunchback Crescent by Thenmozhi. I couldn't move. I mean, it was a very heart-wrenching story of two young children taking care of their mother who was schizophrenic. Of course, now the family is traveling together to a temple town to leave the mother in a place where she can be take care of hospice kind of a thing, where she can be left because the children are not able to concentrate on their studies and the father has to make a living for the family and he's not able to kind of like take care of his wife. So it was a very heart-wrenching story. So are all the stories in this collection. So Dr. Vincent, I think, has done a commendable job, and thank you, Antonym, for bringing out this collection. We look forward to many more collaborations with you in the future. Thank you so much for the opportunity today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Karkuzhali. That was a beautiful start. Next,